Hey, I'm Axel from Hit Film, and as you can see, the fire repairs for my office are not done yet, but we do have another tutorial for you this week still. Today we're going to look at how to create a vintage, washed out, faded sort of hipster look in Hit Film Express. Specifically, this look, which you see all the time these days in advertisements and music videos and pretty much everywhere else you look. So, you can download the project file to follow along if you like, or just load a clip of your own footage into Hit Film. And by the way, every single tool I'll be using today is included in the free version of Hit Film. No add-ons are required, though they certainly could give you more options to make the effect even more awesome. But you can still get excellent results without buying a thing. I'm using this short clip of a vintage GTO, so if you don't have your own footage, go ahead and load that up, right-click, and make composite shot. For the most part, you could also do this grade in the editor if you like, but I'm going to show you a few options later on that working in a comp is useful for. There are two main aspects to creating this grade: softening the blacks so they aren't completely black, and then warming up the whole image. Think for a second about how you might approach those two tasks, because you might very well come up with different ideas or tools than I use here. And you know what? That's awesome. You should try them out and compare the results you get to what I show you, because there is absolutely not a single right way to do this. You can use any methods you want to achieve these results, and each is going to give a slightly different result or a different set of controls that can be used to fine-tune the result. Let's create a grade layer first. You can apply these effects directly to your footage if you wish, and if you were working on the editor, that would absolutely be the way to do it. But I'm using a grade layer for a couple of reasons. First, it makes it really easy to toggle what we have created on and off, to do before and after comparisons. Second, it lets you tweak the entire collection of effects all at once through opacity changes or blend mode adjustments. So, now that we have a grade layer, let's add our first effect to soften these blacks. I'm using curves for this, but you can use something else if you prefer. Levels histogram maybe. Or even brightness and contrast, or gamma could work. But in curves, it's easy to limit exactly what tones are affected. Let's click to add a control point in the center, then grab the bottom control point and drag it right up the side. As we do, notice how the blacks in the image are washed out, but the lighter tones remain largely unaffected. The control point we added is helping protect the highlights, so we can fade these blacks independently of the rest of the image. Now to warm up the image. Before we actually start adding warm tones, let's desaturate the image using hue, saturation, and lightness. That way, it gives it a slightly more monochromatic look when we are done. Not so much that we lose all color, but bring the master saturation down to -25 or -30. And now we will warm it up. Again, there are lots of effects you could use. Color temperature springs to mind, maybe hue colorize, levels histogram again, or color balance, which is the one I chose. Color balance gives us separate controls over the shadows, midtones, and highlights, and it can be really nice to have that level of control right at your fingertips if you need to tweak the results for whatever specific clip you are processing. Open the shadows, and let's warm them up a bunch. To do that, increase the red balance about 20, then reduce the blue balance to around -10. On the color wheel, the opposite of blue is yellow, so by reducing the blue balance, we are introducing more yellow, which is great for warming things up. In the midtones and the highlights, reduce the blue to -10 or so as well, to introduce a bit more yellow into those tonal ranges. It's subtle, and you can use different numbers for all these settings if you want, or if your source footage calls for it, but we are going to layer up a few other effects as well, so you might want to leave them for now, and you can always come back and tweak any of these settings later if it is still necessary. Up next, let's add a bit of a vintage polish to the image by applying a color gradient. A nice feature of the color gradient effect is that it has opacity and blend mode controls built in, so you have lots of control over how the gradient colors are blended with the image underneath. Drag the control points to the top right and bottom left corners, then change the colors to a light brown and darker brown. I used 90, 60, 40 for the darker color and 190, 170, 160 for the lighter color, but you don't have to use those exact same tones, and you might want to use different shades altogether, maybe more of a red or more yellow. Once you have your colors dialed in, change the blend mode to color dodge. Then adjust the opacity of the gradient to where you like it. Around 50% looks good to me, but if you want this to have more of an effect, you might want to leave the opacity higher and darken the lighter color in the gradient a bit so the highlights don't get blown out so much. Toggle the gradient on and off for a quick comparison. Not too shabby, eh? Toggle the whole grade layer on and off too, to see how far we have come from the original, so you can be happy with our progress. We have two optional effects now, which you can decide to use or leave out. It's totally up to you. The first is grain. If you want the video to look old and vintage, a bit of subtle grain can help dirty it up. If you're going for more of a fake vintage, over-polished hipster look, maybe you want to leave this out. Crank the size up to 1.5 or more, enable the monochrome option, then reduce the amount to make it really subtle. I used 10. Toggle that on and off and decide if you want to keep it or not. It might help to play the video as well so you can see it in action. Next, we will add a vignette. Start typing vignette into the search box, and I'm using 1080p video, so I will drag on the vignette 1080p preset. If you need a different preset or want to start with the default effect itself, feel free. The only adjustment I need to make to this preset is to change the color from black to a dark brown. I used something in the 60, 40, 20 range, but any dark brown will work to blend the vignette tones with the rest of our image. Again, you can decide whether you like the vignette for your project or not. But that is the last effect, so now we have all the components for your vintage wash. Maybe you like it just like this. Maybe you want to go back into the curves and introduce a bit of red into the shadows. Or perhaps you think a bit of blue in the shadows would look better. Maybe you want to play with the blend mode or opacity of the grade layer to make the effect more subtle. Perhaps your video file has a lot more color in it, and you want to reduce the saturation more before applying the wash. There's a lot of ways you can fine-tune this effect if it doesn't look just the way you want. And like with any grading technique, when you do apply it to different footage, it usually will benefit from a few little adjustments to optimize the results for the specific tones and colors present in the footage you are working with. Thanks for watching, and we have some stuff coming soon that is even more awesome than usual. So do subscribe to our channel and click that little bell icon to make sure you don't miss it.